Today, I'll read you the chapter, Embrace as a Technique versus Embrace as a Feeling, from my book, The Black and White of Argentine Tango, Both Sides of Tango's Greatest Debates. The purpose of the book is to present both sides as honestly as possible without taking sides. You get the black, you get the white, and then you choose what shade of gray you want to use. Let's start. Embrace as a technique versus embrace as a feeling. In Buenos Aires, nobody talked about the embrace. It did not need to be discussed. People grew up touching each other, hugging friends, sitting close to family. When they danced tango, they simply held each other the way they held everyone else, naturally, without analysis or philosophy. The embrace was not a concept. It was just what you did. When tango traveled to other parts of the world, something changed. In cultures where physical closeness is less assumed, where people move through their days without much touch, the embrace became something else. It became significant. For many people arriving at their first tango class, the embrace was not a means to an end. It was the end itself. And that shift from the embrace as something ordinary to the embrace as something precious and debated is where this conversation begins. Embrace as a technique. Think about what the embrace actually has to do in tango. It has to communicate the direction of the next step. It has to transmit the speed of the movement, the quality of it, whether it will be sharp or smooth, large or small, grounded or light. It has to do all of this while also maintaining a physical connection comfortable enough that both people can relax into it. That is an enormous amount of work to ask of two arms and a chest. When dancers talk about the embrace as technique, they are not trying to make the dance cold or clinical. They are trying to do the opposite. Their argument is this: if the embrace has to do everything, it can truly do nothing. When embrace is busy leading the ocho and steering the giro and managing the direction and controlling the speed, they cannot also be simply holding another person with warmth and presence. The embrace becomes a control panel rather than a hug. Good technique changes that. When the leader learns to lead from his feet and his axis, when the follower learns to read intention through her whole body rather than waiting for her arms to be moved, the embrace is suddenly freed from all those responsibilities. It no longer has to work so hard. And when it stops working so hard, it can finally just be an embrace, warm, present, unhurried. Two people holding each other while their bodies do the complicated parts somewhere further down. This is the paradox at the heart of the technique argument. The people who insist on technical precision in the embrace are often the ones most committed to making it feel genuinely human. They believe that without the technique underneath, the feeling will always be fragile. It will work for a few simple steps and then start to crack the moment something more complex is asked of it. Discomfort creeps in. Miscommunications accumulate. The beautiful feeling that started the dance gets crowded out by the effort of managing a body that does not yet know how to move well with another. There is also something worth saying about embodiment. A technique that is still being thought about is not yet fully a technique. When a dancer is concentrating on where to place their weight, or how to angle their chest, or what their free leg is doing, their attention is on themselves. Their partner can feel that. The embrace might be physically correct, but something is absent from it. Real embodied technique, the kind that has been practiced until it no longer requires conscious thought, produces a completely different quality. The body moves well on its own, and the dancer's full attention becomes available for the person in their arms. That attention is what makes an embrace feel like something. Embrace as a feeling. There's a kind of tango that is technically impeccable and somehow leaves you feeling nothing. The axis is perfect, the lead is clear, every step arrives exactly where it should. And yet, when the tanda ends and you step back, you realize that for 4 songs, you were not really with another person. You were with a very well-functioning system. For dancers who experience tango primarily as a feeling, that kind of dance is a failure, regardless of how correct it looked. What they come to the milonga for is something else entirely. They want to feel held. They want to feel that the person whose arms are around them is genuinely there, genuinely present. genuinely offering something of themselves rather than executing a skill. They want, in the most honest possible terms, to be embraced by another human being. And they believe, from real experience, that too much focus on technique gets in the way of that. This belief is not naive. It comes from something they have actually felt. When someone holds you with full emotional presence, when their attention is entirely on you and not on what their body is doing, something happens that is very hard to describe and very easy to recognize. The dance softens, the connection deepens. The music seems to move through both of you rather than being interpreted by one of you for the benefit of the other. That quality of presence is what feeling first dancers are chasing, and they have learned, sometimes through years of experience, that chasing technique often means chasing it away. What they are protecting underneath the philosophy is something very simple and very human. The right to feel that they are enough as they are, that they do not need to master a complex technical system before they are allowed to experience genuine connection with another person, that the embrace does not require a certificate, that two people who genuinely want to be present with each other can find something real in the dance, even if their footwork is imperfect and their axis is not always exactly where it should be. In Buenos Aires, nobody talked about this because nobody needed to. The culture provided the warmth, the physical ease, the comfort with closeness that made the embrace feel natural from the first moment. When tango traveled to places where that ease is not the norm, people arrived at the milonga carrying something they had been missing for a long time. Real human contact, a real embrace. And for many of them, tango was simply the most beautiful way they had found to get it. The technique could wait. The feeling was why they came. I hope you enjoyed that chapter of the book, The Black and White of Argentine Tango, both sides of tango's greatest debates. You can find the book on Amazon for worldwide delivery. Just type The Black and White of Argentine Tango and allow yourself to dive deep into Argentine tango's greatest debates.